Hello, guys. Welcome to a new edition of React Today as part of the World's Wealth Project. 11 years. We're going to speak today about Palantier and the intelligence system according to a European source that is also based in Latin America. We're talking about the BASE. The BASE is a program that started in Spain and has branches or a branch for Latin American issues. But when I consulted everything that has to do with Palantier and every Zionist organization that is taking over the United States through contracts without our permission, which are private corporations taking over and getting contracts with American, Canadian, European dollars, and they're spreading all around the world, especially in the most powerful countries and armies of the world, because they say that they're indispensable. And they have their grounds not only in the A200 and Israeli surveillance programs in order to kill and destroy their enemies in Palestine and everywhere, Iran, etc. They use this kind of technology. When they want to use that kind of technology, here in Canada, down in the United States, in the 27 European countries, New Zealand, Australia, and Sweden, Finland, Holland, etc., we, the people, have to worry about this because it's nothing but Zionist corporations guided by Jewish people that are oriented through and by Zionism that want to take over our freedoms and liberties just because they feel like. And they have contracts that we, the people, have not awarded them in order to tell us that they know better, as always, and that the state should not control anything. The state means our will, the people's will. When we vote, we are supposed to vote for somebody that is going to represent the people. But no, these companies, because they're awarded billions of dollars in contracts, they lobby with our senators and the Chamber of Representatives in order to give them free, open intervention against whatever we want. And as you will see, they can take our money, they can take our future, destroy it, because according to them, we are supposed to be a danger to those private corporations that are being supported by our representatives in government. So whomever opposes the state of Israel to begin with is going to be broken, killed, destroyed, killed, literally killed, as you will see in this show. And just because they oppose the magnificent imperial thoughts and understanding of the Jewish state, that is the Zionist state, not only in America, but in Canada, the 27 countries in Europe, everywhere around the world. That is colonization through artificial intelligence, surveillance systems that we were warned, not only by the scandals of the most important whistleblowers, in this case, for example, Julian Assange, Manning, who, you remember, she was detained, he was a man, but now she's a girl, okay, Manning. And of course, one of the most famous of all, that now lives in Russia. And they warned us about this issue almost 15 years ago. So what we're going to talk about today in stand-up politics is exactly that. How here in Canada, North America, the Western tradition itself, has been captured by a foreign entity that do not represent the peoples, not in Germany, not in Europe, not in the 27 countries in Europe, but the bureaucracy and the corruptive representatives which do not represent the people in Germany, in Holland, anywhere in the 27 countries in the whole countries of the Western tradition, here in Canada, in the United States, all because of the power of capital that we have awarded them without our permission. That means we, the representatives of the people, who don't give a damn about the people in America, nor here in Canada lately, because taxes are going up, everything is going up, the food is going up, the rent is going up, the corporations taking over, they're renting people. I am myself right now in discussions because there are third-party corporations that are demanding for us to pay for sewage, demanding for us to pay for gas, demanding, even though I don't use gas, oh, but the furnace does. The furnace in the building or the furnace in the house, the furnace in that location, in that village, etc., uses gas. Well, we don't. And Bell has approved. And I say Bell because the council in Regina, I believe it is, had approved an expansion and the creation of one of the artificial intelligence most despotic systems here in Alberta, using millions of gallons of water a year. We have been speaking about this. Heather McPherson has spoken about this issue. And that is that Canada is accepting, not only in Alberta but all around Canada, without our permission, like Bell did in Regina, by the council. I don't know how much money they got without asking, which is important when you're going to start a mining process, when you're going to start an artificial intelligence center, to ask the people if they want it. They didn't give a damn. They said that they did, but they didn't. The protests in Regina, here in Alberta, are amazing. I mean, a lot of people are coming together and understanding that they're going to use fresh water that we need. And I'm going to put something that is happening with our water right now in these parentheses. In order for us, the country, especially in the world, to understand that we cannot have artificial intelligence governing us, which is going to benefit only very few corporations that are Zionist in nature, and they want to control the world and kill us all. They're talking about millions of people that can be killed, destroyed, ruin their lives. Don't go to the bank. If you use your debit, you cannot use it. Why? Because you don't want a Bell Center in Regina. Because you don't want the Zionist state to take over your government. Because your parliament is proven to be given by the lobbyists of Israel and the state of Israel, and the Zionists, which is extremist, whether are not Zionists, but they're a Jewish state, and they're saying that to be Zionist is to be Jew. No. That is a total lie. But here in Canada, they're pushing for it over and over and over again. You remember our last prime minister saying so. He should be arrested, this person. I am for genocide. I am for assassinating and killing everybody that opposes. That's what he said when he said, I am a Zionist. No Zionist should be afraid to walk in Canada. That is an insult to us Canadians, because we are mixed countries that come from other countries, whether Deutschland or Europe, that have been submitted to different powers over the centuries, but especially, let's say, 1920 and now the 21st century, by powers that said that terrorism is anything that America says is terrorism. Anybody that says something against Israel is a terrorist. Well, I'm saying everything against Israel because Israel is a genocidal country according to the United Nations and many treatises that accompany, for example, as I have always mentioned, the 1948 Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide, which is happening again in the hands of Israel, no less, and the State of Israel. We have talking about the numbers of people that support such kind of behavior in Israel. We Catholics couldn't celebrate the Easter. We Catholics or Christians are totally diminished. They just show a photograph of a soldier decapitating, literally inverted Jesus Christ our Lord in Christianity here, which I believe in, and many of you do, millions of or billions of us do. And these people, this little country, these 16 million people, or 17 million people around the world are taking over the world because the power of capital and corruption, and we have to stop that immediately. That's in the words of Jeffrey Sachs. That's in the words of John Mersheimer. That's in the words of Aaron Matte. That's in the words of Max Blumenthal. That's in the word of this program. That's in the word of anybody that have lived in the world enough to understand that these private corporations cannot dictate public policy. You're going to see why today. So, as I said, this program has been produced for the Spanish language, so I'll do my best to translate for you here in Canada and English spoken people around the world why we need to stop corporations from taking over. We already know that Donald Trump is the most corrupt president in history. He has made his billions of dollars for his family, for his son-in-law, for his family and for himself, using Saudi Arabia, using United Arab Emirates, using Qatar, $400 million plane, you name it. And with the help of some friends, with Benjamin Netanyahu, Miriam Adelson, her husband, and many others that have taken over TikTok and the communication systems, which Benjamin Netanyahu recommended it was the goal, to take over internet, with the help of Facebook and all these people that accompanied the inauguration of President Donald Trump, and to which our Prime Minister, Mark Carney, have not opposed. On the contrary, he makes the appearance that he wants to go against the United States and his abuses when it comes to tariffs, etc., etc., but he's not paying attention to what we, the people, don't like, and that's corporations, private corporations, taking public decisions like it happens in Europe with von der Leyen and many others that do not represent the peoples around the world. So what Palantier is proposing, and others apart from Palantier, is to, if you don't agree with us, private corporations, to take over public decisions when it comes to surveillance, when it comes to war, when it comes to going to war, you can be killed, you can be ruined, literally ruined, because the state of Israel decides to do so. If you're going to let 16 or 17 million people dictate this world of 9 billion people, what to do, how to behave everywhere, especially in the Western tradition, who was the Enlightenment, who was the scientific, who was the philosophical roots, and I'm proud of have Dutch descendancy, and I was born in Colombia, South America. We are a mix, I am a mix of both worlds. And for that reason, we're going to talk about today, about the artificial intelligence and how corporations still insist that the states are stupid and the private corporations are going to take over public matters here in Canada, there in the United States, and the Western tradition, 27 countries in Europe, Australia, New Zealand, Finland, Sweden, Holland, the Netherlands. Oh my God, we, the people, have to oppose this vehemently and strongly, and seize these people's money, because that people's money is our money that we pay on taxes when we work. If we don't get blacklisted or we don't get pushed around by the state of Israel, and the people that represent the state of Israel in Canada does not represent us, the people here in Canada. You cannot make that decision in our name. No way, like Bell did in Regina, saying we don't give a damn. Oh, we consulted the people, but the people are not as important as us. We have the money. How much money do they give this council in order to say, yeah, we're going to accept it, which uses billions of gallons of water a year? Heather McPherson was saying that in the United States, and what Kevin O'Leary is promoting here in Alberta with Smith, the governor of the province, is that they're going to use 10% of what we already use, which is 25 billion liters of water. It can be more than that. I work in the oil sands as a welder, so I'm familiar with Synchro and Suncor and all these projects, Aurora, you name it. And destruction of water and fracking. We need to change these sources of energy, as I have explained before. Nikola Tesla showed us, the country and the world, that there are different sources of energy that cannot be oil, gas, etc., or coal that destroy our planet and terraform the planet at the same time. Elon Musk and Netanyahu and Donald Trump and the presidents before, after the Second World War, when Dwight Eisenhower said what was going to happen if the military-industrial complex take over. And that's what is happening. And now, not only them, but Jewish people in the Silicon Valley and Palantier that are Zionists are saying, we're going to take over you, 9 billion people, because we can, we want, and we have the contracts that have been given without the permission of the public, without the authorization of us, the public, the billions of people, to take over you, kill you, destroy you, persecute you, ruin you, so that you cannot eat or have anything. You cannot buy or sell if you don't have the mark of the beast. In other words, the apocalypse is here. The book of Revelation is here. With this introduction, and with respect to all of you Canadian, Western tradition people, let's begin.
We have dedicated our company to the service of the West and the United States of America, and we're super proud of the role we play, especially in places we can't talk about. And we love our success in the U.S. and globally. Also, we are doing in the United Kingdom and many other places. Palantier is here to disrupt and make the institutions we partner with the very best in the world, and when it's necessary, to scare enemies and on occasion kill them. And we hope you're in favor of that. We hope you're enjoying being a partner, and we're really happy and very, very focused on what we're doing.
The left, the Democratic Party, it's like the empire. They're all imperial stormtroopers. And we're the ragtag rebel alliance, and it's a uncomfortably diverse, heterogeneous group, and you have, a teenage Chewbacca and a Princess Leia type character, and then we have a autistic C-3PO policy wonk person, and it is it's a ragtag rebel alliance against the empire.
Americans are the most loving, God-fearing, fair, least discriminatory people on the planet, and they want to know that if you're waking up and thinking about harming American citizens, or if American citizens are taken hostage and kept in dungeons, or if you're a foreign power sending fentanyl to poison our people, something really bad is going to happen to you and your friends and your cousins and your bank account and your mistress and whoever was involved.
In The Lord of the Rings, Gandalf warns of something that sounds almost naive until you think about it twice. A Palantir is danger. We don't know who else might be watching. It wasn't just a magic ball. It was a tool of power, one that allowed you to see everything, and above all, to be seen without knowing it. So you don't know who's watching you. In Tolkien's story, that object ends up corrupting whoever uses it and puts them at the service of a dark power that seeks to dominate the world. The State of Israel, and everybody that represents the States of Israel in the Western tradition, including Canada and, of course, the United States of Israel, which is not the United States of America. So they use and put them at the service of a dark power that seeks to dominate the world. In the story that we're talking about, Gandalf, you shall not pass. Decades later, someone in Silicon Valley decided that that name was perfect for a real company. Palantir is not a social network. It's not just another technological whim to waste our time. It's something else. It is a power infrastructure, a system that promises governments and corporations something very specific. Process and massive amounts of data to see it all, to detect patterns, anticipating behaviors, identifying threats, and ultimately deciding who is dangerous before they do anything. That means you and I on our opinion alone. So that is very dangerous. If you're anti-Semite, which is, you're anti-Zionist, you're anti-Semite. No. Like the Orthodox people in New York just marched and said, hey, and in Israel, in the streets of Tel Aviv, in Jerusalem, the Orthodox people, if you have seen the news in the last couple of days, they went out and said, hey, that's it. We don't want you to take our religion, that is Judaism, to say that anti-Semitism, that Zionism or anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. That's it. They went out with big flyers and stuff saying anti-Zionism is not anti-Semitism, the Orthodox, and they say you're supplanting the religion of the Judaism for Zionism, and that is not the same. Just for the record. So let's get back to Palantir. And what is it that the Zionist state wants to take over the world? And that is why and where the problem begins. When Alex Karp, COD of Palantir, bluntly state that his company has changed the world by humiliating people and becoming rich, he's not exaggerating like most of you will think. In this section, he's describing a logic a logic where technology is not neutral and where power is not hidden but displayed with great pride. Oh, we are very powerful and we can kill you and do with you whatever you want. We want, not you, but we want. And that is the corporation. So who defines what a terrorist is? Who determines what behavior is correct, suspicious, or potentially dangerous? What data is cross-referenced? What patterns are considered relevant? What mistakes are tolerated? And who is responsible if the algorithm makes a mistake or intentionally, I would add, discriminates you for your way of thinking? That is democratic way of thinking, the people for the people by the people. They don't want that. The state of Israel don't want that. The rich people in the United States and Canada don't want that. I haven't heard anything from any congressman or member of parliament here in Canada opposing this demonic attitude of colonization. Again, but who is going to criticize the algorithm if the algorithm make a mistake? Who's going to be responsible? Of course, the corporation. But they're going to tell us, oh, it was an algorithm mistake. I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do. It's a machine, it's the system. No. It's whomever created the system that is responsible, that can manipulate the algorithm to dictate that you or I can be ruined in life, be poor, or killed or assassinated because it's against the policies of a private corporation that have not been voted publicly by the public, by us democratically, to take or make decisions against us, the country, and the world. So, if they make an error and ruins a life of millions of people in the process, who's going to be responsible? So that is the issue here. We cannot be that stupid and just pretend that we want to ignore this process. Today, that technology is already being used, guys. Israel uses it in Gaza, like I mentioned in the beginning, to identify targets under the label of potential terrorist. They already know what that's about. So who defined terrorism here? Who was the guy that defined terrorism? The United States of Israel. In the 2001, the beginning of the first quarter of the century, as we spoke last time. The first quarter of the century was determined that anybody that is not for us is against us. And that is Israel state maxima, which is from the book of Theodor Herzl and the Zionist state, which is we cannot tolerate after the Holocaust. They start beginning saying, and because of their supposed history of persecution, which yeah, it happened, but why was that? Because they always come back to the same service, to adore the golden calf. And in order to adore a golden calf, you need to take away and kill everything that opposes you in the way, even if it's Zionists, like they have blown away Zionist synagogues because they are not Zionists, not only in Israel and Iran, but in Syria. Everywhere they go, they can kill their own, like they did in October 7, just for the record. So who dictates who's the potential terrorist? They do. Who dictates? The rich and the super powerful that are awarded contracts that we the people cannot have. I have a company, it's called Communications. Who is supporting me? Well, I'm not Jew, so because I'm not Jew or I'm not Zionist, I don't get any money. But here in Canada, they are supposed to help entrepreneurs like me. And hey, Federico, you have this company. Sure, you want to compete with YouTube, Facebook and all? Of course, including Rumble. Absolutely, we can help you with that. Because monopolies are forbidden around the world in the majority of the Western tradition countries. But when it comes to the influence of Silicon Valley, Facebook and YouTube, even Rumble, I cannot entrepreneur my ideas because I don't receive any support from anybody. Why is that? Because I am not for the state of Israel, which is a corrupt state that wants to take over the world. So who makes those decisions? Since 2001, the state of Israel, when the false flag of the towers, the attack against New York towers, the Twin Towers, began all this. 26 years later, all those countries destroyed, Libya, now Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, Somalia, now Iran, but Iran says, thanks God, F you. and it's showing us a country in the world why we should do the same, and why I have said for the last 21 years that the wars for independence are back, because we need independence of that terrorist idea that only corporations and rich people can domain public affairs. Sorry, but we the public are not that stupid, and we are prepared, and we can handle the truth. So who's going to call terrorist whom? Well, they already know what's that about, like I was mentioning. And in the United States, ICE, for example, uses this kind of information and surveillance to classify, track, and detain migrants in mass operations. And they're receiving billions of dollars in budget right now, which we, the people, have not supported, in order to persecute each and every one. It doesn't matter if you're white, but especially Muslims and Mexicans and immigrants that they blame for everything, like they're doing in England, the white supremacists and everything, not ignoring that is Israel the only one who's going to benefit in the end. And it doesn't matter if you're white supremacists or anything. In the end, they're going to get you too, white supremacists, because there can only be one, and that can be only the state of Israel, Zionist state of Israel. That's demonology 101 in my book. So we're not talking about science fiction here, or like the movies. We're talking about concrete decisions that affect concrete people based on systems that no one voted for, that no one controls democratically, and that operate under the unquestionable banner of security. Remember what happened in Colombia in the name of security? Thousands of kids, women, and children were assassinated, literally extrajudicially, assassinated by the government of Mr. Álvaro Uribe Vélez. In the name of security. Oh no, we have to get rid of the guerrillas. We have to get rid of these people that are destroying us, the democracy of our world. In the meantime, the corrupt particulars were destroying dozens and dozens of public affairs. In the meantime, the networks that sustain the people somehow were destroyed by the name of security. What is happening in the United States is the application of third world practices in the United States, in Europe, in Sweden, in Finland, which we were famous, the Netherlands, for establishing networks in order to say, I don't care if you're poor, you're going to be protected by the state. No, they don't want that anymore. They don't want nobody to have healthcare. They want to destroy each and every one and consult with suicide or see you're a menace to jail. But those jails are private. And they're going to demand from the people that pay taxes and work their asses 2-3 jobs to pay their food, and they can't, to pay their rent, and they can't, because everything is going to be taken off in order to put $500 billion more, $500 billion more, in the army in order to take over what Israel wants, which is the world. And if you don't agree with that, we have an unquestionable banner of security that is going to decapitate you, is going to impede you to buy groceries, going to like what happened in the pandemic here in Canada, where if you don't have, in those days, the certification that you were vaccinated, you couldn't buy groceries in IGA here in Canada 6 years ago, 5 years ago. So, but let's carry on. So who's in charge of that? Artificial intelligence systems and whomever controls them. And it was a mistake of the algorithm. Really? Well, it's not a mistake when it happens that ICE is using that same security systems that Israel have used, as I said in the beginning, against the Gazan people. And now the United States imported it, and now Canada is using the person in charge of the city of Edmonton in Alberta to go to Israel to be trained by Israel in order how to deal with people that oppose the Israel system here in Canada. So, is the unquestionable banner of security. Security for whom? For the oligarchs. Security for them and only them. And if you oppose that as a citizen, you will be ruined and also killed, detained, exported to some country, just like the United States is doing, because the United States, of course, has been possessed by a foreign and invasive species, which is the state of Zionist Israel. And we already know what this word security means. It's the perfect wild card in the argument that allows you to justify anything. Mass surveillance, persecution, deportation, bombings, anything is acceptable if it is presented as necessary for protection of the country. Bullshit is only the protection of the super rich, what we're watching here. That is not fun. While we continue to talk, and rightly so, about the advance of the global far right, its coordination, its ability to influence governments and society, there is something that sometimes goes out of focus. Who has the real tools of power? Who builds the infrastructure that makes that control possible? Like Bell, that said, F the Canadians, and the council said, no, we consulted with the people, we have the permission of the people. No, you don't. The people don't want artificial intelligence services to take over the world and create an illusion of super that we're going to last forever. If you abide by us and you believe in us, you're going to live no problem. That's bullshit. Nothing about the people without the people, period. And you have not consulted us, not in Regina, and Bell already approved it without the permission or consultation with the people of Regina, even though they say they did. They have not. That's what the people are protesting here in Canada. And they want to keep on doing it all around Alberta and all around Canada. Well, no. This infrastructure that makes that control possible. Who is these people? Who ultimately owns the systems that allow for monitoring, classification, and decision-making? Well, the private companies, the new centers of power, are not always in parliaments. Often, they are in Silicon Valley offices, designing technologies that states then use to govern, and that's where Palantir ceases to be just a company and becomes a political project, one who doesn't need to win elections whatsoever, one that we don't vote for, like van der Leyen does in the European Commission. She is not being elected publicly by anybody, but she makes decisions that the parliament adopts in order to fuck European people up in the name of the state of Israel and Zionism. Jesus Christ, what an invasive species this is. And the fact that this colonization process is not being recognized by our prime minister, like it was supported for the last one, it says too much about the future of us, the country and the world, if we don't react today in stand-up politics. So, these corporations are creating political projects without our permission or our will or our vote. One who doesn't need to win elections to influence the world and doesn't need to convince because he already has all the data about us. Everything. And today, all the Latin American base, when we speak about what's going on, it's about Palantir and its recent manifesto, its ideology, its role in the world, and what it means to live in a time where seeing everything is no longer a fantasy, but business welcome. Okay, this is business welcome. Oh, okay. And that is something that we need to talk about. Marco Terrucci, have you read the 22 points that Palantir published? What impression does it leave on you? He's a journalist. I saw you looking quite restless in this information this morning, she laughs, when you were preparing your Guilon, your program. And he answers, well, my question will be, how do we stop what these people want? We are going to explain point by point how it was born, who created it, what they are doing, and what they want. Not for themselves, but for all of us. Not them. They are the top of the chain. Everybody else, billions of people have to obey. We have controlled them. That is evil. That is evil. That is Satanism in government. This is not a joke. Okay, so the other journalists in this program, how the international media have been reporting on the characters who are now the stars of Palantir. Well, they're nice, techies, gorgeous. Some say, look at their hair, how they dress. We're going to end up using Palantir clothing in this program. The information is relevant, very relevant, and we're going to see it, and we're going to see it how they've turned these characters into a meme when in reality they are dangerous people. And today we will also talk with the Mexican academic and writer David Buckler. Well, let's get started. We need to know about these people here in Canada and the Western tradition itself, because otherwise we are just nothing but witnessing the book of Revelation, where you cannot buy or sell anything unless you have the mark of the beast here. That's it. Something that I heard the other day was a professor of mathematics that I like very much. And he had very important theological discussions in the past with many other important bullshit talkers that want to convince us that the state of Israel is the best, that colonization is okay, that America is the best organization ever possible, that capitalism is awesome, and whomever stands against capitalism is an idiot. And since 2001, a terrorist. September 11, which is bullshit, and we have proven in this program for more than 11 years why. So, we can start speaking about what's going on, but let's take a little break.